Namaskar. Welcome to honestastrology.com YouTube channel. And today I'm going to speak about a topic which is very close to my heart, that is Ketu Mahadasha. And this is the topic that made me famous. So 90% of the people who come to me for a consultation come during a Ketu, Rahu or Shani, Mahadasha or Antardasha. Out of these three, Ketu Mahadasha can be the most intense. I often tell my clients, Ketu तुम्हें मंदिर के आगे खड़ा कर देगा. Which means Ketu will make you stand at the doors of the temple. You can either go in as a devotee, that is if you are smart, else it would make you beg in front of the temple. There is no third choice with Ketu. This topic is very close to my heart, having gone through this most powerful and terrible of all Mahadashas, especially the poisonous first half of it. I can feel the pain of anyone who is going through this period. This spiritual serpent planet is the least known but most damaging of all planets. I have written a book on Shani, Rahu and Ketu. While I would eventually write about all 9 Mahadashas, for me Ketu Mahadasha comes first and foremost. This is the most difficult of all dashas and almost always gives uniform results, irrespective of its placement in the chart. Every other planet may give a good or a bad dasha, but Ketu is invariably harsh for anyone going. My view is that the phrase 7 years of bad luck was coined because of Ketu Mahadasha, which lasts for a period of exactly 7 years, and thank God for it. Had it been longer, like 18 years of Rahu, I have my doubts that barring sannyasis, anyone would have emerged out of it alive. For the record, maximum number of job losses and divorces happen in a Ketu period. Ketu, the planet of liberation, is the most spiritual planet of all. All he wants to do is to deliver liberation and spirituality to a person. He is not at all interested in the material world and hence wreaks havoc at a material plane, especially during its first half. I think I owe this explanation to divine Ketu. Ketu is not a malefic. I repeat, Ketu is not a malefic. It is the most spiritual planets of all, even more than Jupiter. However, he has a harsh way of delivering his lessons because he wants us to wake up to bigger and more important realities of karma, detachment and spirituality. We have created a very Shani Rahu kind of world where my job, my power, my relationship, my family is all that we are worried about. Ketu has to show us that all these things are fragile and impermanent trappings of ego. It goes to work and it starts hammering everything one by one. Ketu is interested in burning up boatloads of bad karma during its Mahadasha. So first we will talk about how Rahu and Ketu were created. So most of you would have heard about the legend of Samudra Manthan, where Lord Vishnu beheaded demon Swarbhanu while he was trying to drink the nectar of immortality called the Amrit. So the head of Swarbhanu became all head Rahu and the torso of Swarbhanu became all heart Ketu. So while Rahu became a politician, Ketu became a saint. He doesn't have a head, all he has is a heart. So whenever Ketu Mahadasha starts, we often lose our head. I call Ketu the left hand of Ganesha. After all, what is Ganesha originally? He is a torso without a head. And what is Ketu? Exactly the same thing. So Ketu has no head, he has all heart and is not interested in the world. It is the planet of losses, heartbreaks, planet of divorces and separation, planet of renunciation and sannyasis, and the planet of cleaning up your karma. It is like going on a pilgrimage. You need to leave aside your ego. We will talk in detail in this video about all the 9 Antardashas, and I must tell you that clinging and trying hard is the last thing you want to do in Ketu. It's better to let go, take it easy and relax. Now things that usually happen in Ketu Mahadasha. Number 1, you lose your head. I guess this has something to do with Ketu not having a head. Coming out of a brilliant Mercury Mahadasha, people feel that they are infallible. However, Ketu Mahadasha corrects this misconception quickly. People often complain of headache, sleepiness, thyroid problems, and in some cases diabetes. All this dulls down their intellect that they were so proud of during the Mercury period. While in Mercury they were applauded as geniuses, they are criticized for their foolishness during a Ketu Dasha, showing fully well that what they were considering their intelligence was a passing grace of Mercury. The intellectual giants often fall flat and realize that they are little more than pawns in the great game of planets. Number 2, you lose your close relationships. Kshetrakarika Ketu, the planet which lost its own head, symbolizes separation. So one loses a very close relation, and often this happens in a very brutal manner that scars you for life. And you realize no matter how close the relationship is, everything is temporary. However, this detachment often serves the native well in times to come because Ketu takes away all that has become useless. This detached attitude serves him lifelong. Then people often lose their job. If I have to say which is the planet of unemployment and job losses, I would say Ketu. People often lose their jobs, businesses, or whatever gainful employment they were engaged in, and are often moved towards something totally different. However, good news is that, like everything else that Ketu does, this is painful at the moment but serves one well in the future, and he or she is put on the path of destiny. Next thing, you lose your attachments. Ketu takes away all that you were proud of. Intelligence, gone. Money, gone. Relations, gone. Career, gone. All this happens in a swift and brutal Ketu manner. Remember, Ketu separates not like a surgeon but like a butcher. Few people are left clinging to anything once this period is done with them. They realize that they may end up losing anything at a moment's notice. Next, you lose your ego. Once you have lost all that you were proud of, there comes a day during the Ketu period when a man realizes helplessness and his insignificance in greater scheme of things. Once all is taken away, the ego crumbles, and when it does, it is very liberating and life turns for the better. Ketu leaves you with only the essence of who you are, your soul. I have seen people lose arrogance acquired over a Mercury period and become very humble. And this leads us to the next point. You become a man of God. Once a person realizes that the toys and titles and the so-called relations that he or she had piled up are temporary and illusionary, there is but little trace of materialism left in him. Once he or she realizes that there is only one true possession, and that is one's quintessential self or soul, and there is only one true relation, that is of the soul and God, the Atma and Paramatma. These are the two things even Ketu can't take away. Last, redemption and liberation. Once you have realized that everything is an illusion or Maya, you work your way towards redemption. You come out wiser and liberated at the end of Ketu Dasha. Lessons of Ketu are harsh, unforgettable, and liberating. Now we talk about the 9 Antardashas and Mahadashas of Ketu. Ketu, the Big Bang. This intense Dasha starts with a Big Bang. There is a sudden, abrupt change in the circumstances of the native, and one is forced to cope with an extremely new environment. A major change in job, house, place is almost inevitable, and the settings change and pave the way for all that is about to come. There is a sudden dip in the intellectual capacity of the person. One who was considered brilliant during a Mercury period transforms into God's fool, and the sharp, arrogant aura of Mercury is replaced by the lost and foggy look that becomes the trademark of native for the times to come. Ketu often throws a honey trap. You can get into a new job, transfer, relationship, which can often prove to be a trap. To avoid it at all cost would be a good idea. Contentment would save you, else you would get hammered by Ketu. Ketu Shukra, I call it the hell on earth. If there are two dashas which scare me the most, it's Ketu Shukra and Ketu Rahu. We'll talk about them. Venus is the king of good times. All love, luxury, material comfort, and fun in life is brought to one by Venus. Ketu is the monk, the biggest and harshest enemy of luxury-loving Venus, and he blocks everything that Venus signifies. I have often seen the natives being tormented by females during this period. Maybe this is a sign of Venus going bad. For some reason, 20 to 25% people don't face such a bad impact of this dasha. However, this is most difficult on Capricorn, Leo, Aquarius and Aries. On the good side though, the harsher this period was, the better your Shukra is. Next, Ketu Mahadasha Sun Antardasha, humiliation followed by liberation. This finally comes as a sigh of relief. This is the point where a person literally taps out to life and gives into the power of the planets. The monk Ketu hates King Sun and wants to teach him a lesson or two. I have seen this period knock the ego out of the person. People are often tormented by those in authority, for example bosses, seniors, etc., and have to undergo some sort of humiliation. The arrogance of Sun is toned down and a person emerges wiser and humbler after losing their ego. Ketu Moon, a sigh of relief. Ketu is not so inimical towards Moon, and this is the time when he goes a little easy on the native. There is a sense of peace and calm, and a person experiences some relief. While emotional detachment is the norm, the native is finally at some peace after a horrible 20 months. This is a kind of a redeeming and resting period where one learns to cooperate with destiny and loses the illusions of control, realizing the power of entities far greater than him. Ketu Mars, Man at War. This is an interesting one. Once the calm waters of Moon have been replaced by the fiery fury of Mars, results are far more interesting. This is the time when a person finds his lost confidence. I have seen them go into burst of anger. Remember, Ketu and Mars are both fiery planets. While the natives have lost their ego, they realize that they would have to fight for their existence, and fight they do. During this period, I have seen the native get into conflicts with men. But unlike Ketu Venus period, this time the native is able to strike back. Not out of arrogance though, but out of sense of righteousness and a resigned attitude towards faith. This is for a change a materially beneficial period. However, it is more of a war zone where a person would have to fight to the bitter end. Good part is that the native is far more mature by now and can handle himself well. Ketu Mahadasha Rahu Antardasha, the celestial train wreck. After Ketu Venus, if there is anything that scares me, then it is a Ketu Rahu period. And it explains why I am so afraid of a Ketu Dasha. It contains two worst periods anyone can go through in his life. There is only one guarantee: whatever one has planned will not work. Even the best laid plans backfire. Normally, the fallout is akin to a train wreck. Like a train that has been derailed, a man goes extremely different than what he had planned. He is dragged off the comfort, security and predictability of his tracks, and he falls into the rough and tumble of the unknown. On the other side, this period marks some sort of a completion in life, as Rahu and Ketu come together to form one body. I often call this the period of creative destruction. This is normally seen to put the man on the path to destiny. The old is destroyed and the new starts. It is better to lie low and calm down and let this period get over, because almost inevitably it puts a person on the path of his destiny. Next, Ketu Mahadasha Jupiter Antardasha, the return of hope. Finally, this is the time when Ketu thinks that he has given you enough heat and you have learned some of your lessons. He goes easy on you. As much as he hates Venus, he loves Jupiter with equal favor, and out of respect for his mentor and role model, Ketu makes this the best period of the Mahadasha. Jupiter, the planet of good luck and optimism, brings relief and spiritual upliftment to the native. Ketu's spirituality combined with Jupiter's wisdom and cheerfulness gives the person faith and hope. The hopelessness that had been the hallmark of Ketu period is diminished, and a person becomes more positive, cheerful and spiritual. The appearance of mentors and guides may happen, and a person would benefit immensely from them. This is the happiest phase in an otherwise grim Ketu Dasha. Next come Ketu Mahadasha Shani Antardasha, the Karma Yoga and tug of war period. When two malefics get together, it is not going to be a pretty picture. However, this can actually be a Karma Yoga period. This is the time when the resigned acceptance and a passive, disengaged, floating attitude acquired in Ketu period is phased out, and one is brought back to the realm of reality, represented by Shani. So Shani starts his class by putting the material realities back in the picture and drags down the man to material plane. The optimism of Jupiter evaporates and the spiritual musings are replaced by blood, sweat and tears of real life. Now these two have a bit of a struggle. Ketu wants to be the unengaged passive observer who is present but not involved. Shani wants the native to do his karma and get things done on a material plane. Ketu resists because he knows the futility of human effort. But Shani persists because, according to him, the material reality is karma yoga. Like Lord Krishna, the blue-black colored Shani encourages the native to do his action. This is the time of minimalism and high pressure, intense effort and low reward. On a different note, I have seen that for some reason Ketu Shani Shukra is a very difficult phase. Often the male natives are harassed by women or women become a source of problem. Another thing, on one day you might get cold, hard Shani energy which encourages you to work a lot. Whereas on Ketu days, you get hot, irritated energy of Ketu which doesn't want you to work. It's very important to listen to yourself. An erratic sleep schedule is often a norm. The tug of war between these two can be very exhausting. On one day, Shani might wake up the native at 4 am and keep him working till the night non-stop. On the other day, Ketu may make him feel so lethargic that he wakes up at 11 in the morning and calls in sick. This yo-yo effect of sleep and unpredictable sleep cycle with fluctuating energy levels is fairly common. It is ideal to know which day is a Shani day and which day is the Ketu day and behave accordingly. Another problem that this ebb and flow of energy brings to a person is a weakened immunity. During the first wave, most of my clients who got COVID were undergoing a Ketu Shani or a Shani Ketu period. Corona, for the record, is a very Shani Ketu disease. So it is advised that you take your immunity boosters, especially Tulsi, and you take your vaccinations. Last, Ketu Mahadasha Mercury Antardasha, the unchackling. I often call Mercury the right hand of Ganesha and Ketu the left hand of Ganesha. Coming together, they create Sri Ganesha, a new beginning of a life. This is the time when people finally get their head back. The Ketu lethargy is washed away by guidance of Shani, and Ketu confusion is finally removed by the grace of Mercury. Native is once again able to work at a good intellectual capacity and is once again able to think his way out of things. It is a period of planning the future that they look forward to, with optimism related to the upcoming Venus mission. While Ketu off and on interferes out of habit, he knows that he is more or less done with you. However, there is an X factor, the Dasha Sandhi. Dasha can be translated to the word condition. With change in Dasha, a native's conditions also change. Thus, with Mahadasha change, the entire canvas of the life changes. Usually, it's a violent process full of turmoil and radical change. This period of Dasha Sandhi is the first 9 months of Venus Dasha. I've seen people change everything in their life: jobs, cities, businesses, and at times even spouse. While the toughest Dasha Sandhi is one from Shani to Mercury, but Ketu Venus has a secret weapon, the Ketu sting. Like a retreating snake, Ketu might give the native a parting gift that he may never forget. This sting can appear to be devastating initially. However, like all things Ketu, it will be liberating in the long run. I have often seen people suffer something horrible during the Dasha Sandhi. This may include job loss, disease, separation, death of a parent, or even widowhood. However, almost always it turns out to be one of the best things that ever happened to them. But when it hurts like hell. By the end of Ketu Mahadasha, you are more mature. You have paid back a lot of your bad karma, and you have lost your ego and have become more humble. Most of all, you have realized that the world is an illusion and God is the only reality. Once Ketu is done with you, it rewards you with a sense of stoic redemption and spiritual heights which no other planet can give. I'll be honest, when I started Ketu Dasha, I hated it. But Ketu destroyed my chains, liberated me. I have never been so free or so content in my life. Thank you, Divine Ketu, for all the blessings. God bless. This is Jay Vijay Kumar from honestastrologer.com.